tea idols around, and my friends, the Jonas Brothers!
When the Jonas Brothers kicked off their performance of SOS at the 2007 American Music Awards, glass panels shattered right before they walked down the stage. Joe, in the middle, took a bit of a tumble, falling on the broken glass. Didn't even realize how bad he was bleeding until he got backstage. The Jonas Brothers' cool factor definitely went up in this moment.
Those who voted for me, I thank you, and for those who didn't, better luck next year.
While performing his hit song Adorn, Miguel leapt over the crowd onto a different part of the stage. However, it wasn't a smooth landing, as he landed crotch first into an audience member's face.
Live from the DKI Apex Restoration Studios in beautiful Tullahoma, Tennessee. This is Ken Keller, and I'm filling in for Scott Chastain, the incomparable Scott Chastain. My name is Dave Myers. Welcome to Gold Ball Sports.
Dave,
We're here.
I'm excited Diamond Dave's here. You know, Scott's out on special assignment with the Light Tube Sports Network. He calls Tullahoma basketball. Scott and I together call Tullahoma football, but I've only been doing it 6 years. Scott's been doing it, calling Tullahoma sports over 30 years. He does a great job, and he's at the Wildcat Gymnasium up there on Jackson Street, calling the girls and boys game. The girls just now tipping off as the Tullahoma Wildcats, the Lady Cats, are taking on the Warren County Lady Pioneers in the boys game to follow. So Scott's going to catch this show afterward. This is our 12 Days of Christmas edition. And,
12th episode on 12/12.
12th episode on the 12th day of December, and we really want to start the show off on a somber note, and we want to dedicate this show tonight here at Gold Ball Sports to the Pirate, Mike Leach, who suffered a massive heart attack yesterday, Sunday morning. He's fighting for his life now in critical condition. So our thoughts and prayers are with Mississippi State head coach Mike Leach and his family. We pray that he can pull through this situation. He's in dire straits right now, and pray for Mike Leach. And we'll have a special tribute for Coach Leach at the end of the show. We've created a song for your enjoyment. The 12 Days of Christmas, SEC and Gold Ball Sports style. It really encapsulates and captures some of the key points of the SEC season, exciting season.
Now,
we love that football.
Normal viewers will know that Scott Chastain wrote a song called Two Kids Kicking.
That's right.
I think this song is going to be up there with it. I really do. You did a great job picking out the 12 days. We'll show you that in a little bit.
Well, I appreciate it. I put the words together. You put the graphics and the production together, man. Hey, that's why we're a team here at Gold Ball Sports.
It's going to be wild. Hey, Ken, this is our award show, and college football has given out plenty of awards recently. We're going to talk about those, but first I want to hit on the Heisman Trophy. We know that Caleb Williams out of USC has won the Heisman Trophy. Ken, I'd like to get your take first on just what you think about that award going to Caleb Williams.
Look, it's time to strip some Heisman voters from their votes. I mean, I was upset a few years ago when a certain Auburn Tiger named Bo Jackson did not vote for Tua Tagovailoa, and he lost narrowly to Kyler Murray of the Oklahoma Sooners. And I was outraged at that time. So, look, I can understand if Tennessee fans are upset that Mr. Hooker did not get into the Heisman Trophy top four. And you're going to state a case tonight in our Down and Dirty segment for Mr. Hooker. But, look, I told Scott just a couple episodes ago on Gold Ball Sports that there was lots of injuries this year. You know, Blake Corum, the running back for Michigan, was hurt. Bryce Young hurt his shoulder. Of course, in the South Carolina game, late in that game, we saw Hendon Hooker go down with a dreadful ACL injury in his knee. So, you know, a lot of the really players that were in contention really were eliminated due to injuries.
Yeah.
But in my mind, and I know in yours too, Dave, the Heisman Trophy is for the best player in college football. The number one best player in college football. It's also a character award. You know, character is what you're doing when nobody's watching. And that means don't paint your fingernails before you play a conference championship game with explicatives on your fingers, Caleb Williams, that says a 4-letter word, blank, Utah. You fill in the blank. You can Google it. Go Ball Sports fans. You know what he put on there. And to me, that should have eliminated him from even being invited.
Yeah.
You know, to me, because that's a lot. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, the Heisman Trophy is something that you look up to. I remember growing up, you know, that was an award that was given to the player that you expected to excel and become a role model. And so you got these kids playing high school, middle school ball, even looking at these Heisman winners as, I want to be that. But when you got a guy who's got an attitude and leads his team in a way that you're going, what is this guy doing? I think it's unacceptable. But in a brief rewind, let's take a look at the candidates who were chosen. We have Caleb Williams. We know that he won. C.J. Stroud from Ohio State, Max Duggan from TCU, and Stetson Bennett. Now, go ahead.
Yeah. So Dave, what's the commonality of those four guys right there? They're all what? What position they play?
Quarterback.
They're quarterbacks. This has become a quarterback-centric award. What about the best player in college football on defense? What about the top running back? Bijan Robinson from Texas. Where's he at?
Well, I mean,
where's William Anderson?
William Anderson. It's just about you make a strong case for William Anderson this year.
You know, so that's just a couple guys. We talked about the character award, and Dave, I think you've got some video of these the four Heisman finalists queued up. Let's.
Well, I got some of our debate guys. Some footage of who we're going to debate, and let's just go ahead and get into it. Let's get down and dirty with this debate, and we're going to head to it. All right. So I'm making a case for Hendon Hooker, and there's a lot of people who you could say were snubbed, but he is actually the one that I'm choosing to go with, and so looking at his stats. You know, he had 100. These are just stats. Now we're going to get into intangibles in a little bit, but he was 175.5 rating, which was second in all college football. 324 yards per game, which led the SEC. He was ninth overall in college football. 69.6 completion rating. 3,135 yards passing. 430 yards rushing. And that's not to take away his 2021 season, and I know that you shouldn't look in the past for these awards, but he had a stellar 2021 season. And so I'd like to actually give you a quote given by Stetson Bennett on this whole situation. Here's what Stetson had to say. Yeah, and I also don't think it's fair to Hendon. He's a great player. I don't think it should be spoke of in that light. I think he should be getting respect for the year he had and not what could have been. He was almost single-handedly the main factor in that program changing course. And I have to agree with him. Now, this is not a down and dirty debate where Ken and I are going to debate each other, because I think Bryce Young could have been in consideration as well. Here you can see some of the stats that Hendon Hooker had. Was the SEC Player of the Year, which definitely should factor in, because he swept that award. All the people who voted for that, he swept that award clean. And so I think he should have been in it, and we'll hit on intangibles like I said. Ken, what about Bryce Young? Give me some highlights.
I want to talk about Hendon Hooker.
Let's do it.
I mean, as an Alabama fan, you got to talk about the year Hendon Hooker had. You know, Tennessee won 10 games this year, their first time since 2003. What would their record have been? It was 10-2 this year had they not had Hendon Hooker at quarterback. You know, you insert Joe Milton there instead of Hendon Hooker, what games you lose? I think you certainly lose the Alabama game for sure. I don't think he throws 5 touchdowns to Jalen Hyde in that football game. You know, there may have been another, you know, Tennessee was involved in some big blowout games this year. But, look, he was the leader of a team. And when you take a leader off, you don't just replace statistics. There's the intangibles there, the leadership qualities. You know, you saw what happened to Tennessee when Jeremy Banks didn't make the trip to South Carolina. Their defense lost their heart, because their leader wasn't
Right.
there. And so,
It's tough to watch.
look, he had a fantastic season. Okay, do I think he should have been invited? Yes, I think he could have made the top 4. Would I have voted for him over Caleb Williams? Perhaps. I might have if I had a vote. But, you just don't give it to the team that has the best overall record. But who's the best football player? It's just like the college football playoff litmus test of the 4 teams. It's supposed to be the best 4 teams. You can tell a lot by eyeball, how they react on the sidelines. Look, I sat by Hendon Hooker's parents right beside them in the end zone last year of a Tennessee game when I was up there with watching Alontae Taylor, and I was there with Nate and Laura and my wife. We was up there watching the game, and I sat right between them, right beside them, and they're good quality people. To me, I said it was one of the most important transfers early in this college football transfer portal. Tennessee landing him totally turned their program around. But I have a couple strikes against Mr. Hooker, okay? And I know Vol Nation's going to get mad at me, but you got to look at the big games head-to-head, okay? So let's look at the quarterback comparisons between him and Stetson Bennett.
All right.
Both teams were unbeaten on CBS. Now, Tennessee fans did some things to stoke up Stetson Bennett. You remember the late-night phone calls to 2 a.m. in the morning that he, after he threw a touchdown, he referenced with the phone call. But let's look at the stats against Stetson Bennett in the Georgia-Tennessee game. Hooker was 23 of 33, 195 yards passing. So he got held way below he was over 300 plus, about 324 average per game. 1 interception. So no touchdowns, less than 200 yards. Georgia defense, best in the nation, held him down. Conversely, Stetson Bennett, he completed less passes. He went 17 for 25, but 257 yards and 2 big touchdowns, including a 75-yard bomb early in that game to Arion Smith in that game. So Georgia dominated that game. I think that hurt Hooker. I think he went into that game as the leader. That week on Go Ball Sports, I said, hey, he's the leader. At that time, Stetson Bennett not even mentioned in the conversation.
Right.
I think Bennett got in because Georgia kept winning and because they kept winning and because these other players were injured. And so it was by default. Now, Hooker against Radler, he got outplayed that game, 6 touchdowns for Radler, 3 to Hooker. And then if you look at Bryce Young against Hooker threw 5 touchdowns against Alabama. That's what got him in the Heisman conversation. The big game on the national stage, they took down Goliath and they took down Alabama. In that game, Bryce Young threw for 455 yards in that game himself.
And that's good that you say that, and especially once we start talking about intangibles, you have a guy like Hendon Hooker, and you start looking at things like the people who need to be involved in these conversations step up in the moments where they're needed. Now, granted, Tennessee hasn't really had a chance to be in those moments in the past, if we all know what we're saying. Tennessee has had an issue with going into those games as the underdog. Well, this year, you have Tennessee saying, we have a chance to beat Alabama. We really do. And so they counted on Hendon Hooker to handle that game. When he didn't step up against Georgia like that, then you have to start looking at his whole season as a whole. But I like your arguments. I do agree with you. I think there are better cases with some of the finalists for a Heisman, not all.
Yeah.
But I'd like to hear your view on Bryce Young as well.
Yeah, look, Bryce Young, fantastic football player. I think Alabama could have lost 4 games this year without Bryce Young. So what does a player mean to his team? I still think he's the best quarterback and the best player in college football. He didn't have the best season this year. He is the best player, but he did not have the best season. He had an injury, and they lost 2 tough games. If he wins either one of those games, Alabama's in the college football playoffs. They lose on the last play of the game, 2 games, and Bryce Young is squarely looking at perhaps a repeat on the Heisman Trophy. But great character guy, leader of his team. He may play the bowl game in the Sugar Bowl against Kansas State. He may opt out. I think he's going to end up playing. But that's for the character of Bryce Young. But look, these are the voters I have a problem with. I had a great conversation with a knowledgeable football friend of mine that I graduated high school with, Scott Jones, on the way over here, and he said, this is what I think happened. He said, I think some of the Big Ten voters intentionally put Hooker like down 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, low. He said, I think other conferences ganged up on the SEC. They did. They did it to Tua, and I guarantee you they did it to Hendon Hooker. Some of these guys need to have – I know the Heisman Trophy winners, they automatically get votes. But there's some in the media that they don't watch near the football games that we do here on Go Ball Sports. We sit down and get a smorgasbord of games and watch it from nonstop in the morning until Saturday night, and then the recap shows and all the highlights and stuff. You know, when we're casuals, man, we're armchair quarterbacks here. But I guarantee you we can make a more of an educated guess and do better on a lot of these votes, both on the College Football Playoff Committee and my last word, the Heisman Trophy. And look, you got a couple pictures of Caleb Williams, I think,
I do.
that you might be able to cue up here. But look, again, I'm going to get to this, folks. This man painted, I don't know if he painted his fingernails for the Heisman, or not, but cocky, brash. Look, pride leads to folly. Pride leads to destruction. The humble will be exalted. And, this guy may be being for a big fall in the NFL. We remember Johnny Manziel.
Yep.
Okay, we remember him when he threw touchdowns in 2012, showing the money signs. Yeah, everybody in Aggie Land loved it. They loved it in College Station.
Right.
He beat Alabama, so now he's a hero, man.
Joe Burrow.
And Joe, but Joe, I think, handles it with a little bit more class.
He
than
does.
he does. And Baker Mayfield, we're going to talk about him later.
Yep.
Maybe he's making a resurrection of sorts, but he was pretty cocky too, if you remember.
Yep.
At Ohio Stadium at Ohio State when the Sooners beat the Buckeyes. He took a Sooner flag and planted it on the O at midfield, which stoked some people in a bad way, including me. When Scott and I had the Chastain show, I lambasted that situation when Baker Mayfield did that. You don't ridicule another team on their field like that, in my opinion.
And so finishing up, talking real quick about the intangibles, because I think that's an important thing to hit on when you talk about guys like this, even Bijan Robinson or Blake Corum, who they both had great years. Bijan was 1,580 yards rushing, 18 touchdowns. Blake was 1,463 yards. Blake also had 5.9 yards per carry. That's a little crazy. But you talk about intangibles, and Ken, I know that you had a case putting Tua Tagovailoa as the Heisman winner the year that he lost.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. The intangibles that he brought, and the same thing that you're talking about Bryce Young, the intangibles that he brings to Alabama, when you put him as one of the best Alabama quarterbacks of all time, that's saying something, folks.
Yeah.
When you put Hendon Hooker in the very illustrious line of best Tennessee quarterbacks of all time, that's saying something. And this is not a show where we're going to spout ideas and we're going to hit you with facts. The facts are guys will follow these quarterbacks to the end of the playing field and beyond, off the cliff, because they believe in them so much.
That's right. Character travels.
Yeah.
And Tua got his revenge against Kyler Murray. That same year that Murray won the Heisman Trophy, Alabama played Oklahoma in the first round of the playoffs, and Tua had him up 28-0, I think, in 4 touchdowns with 10 minutes to go in the second quarter of that football game. So he showed who the better quarterback was between those two in college, and I think he's shown it in the pros who's better between those two as well.
I agree. Well, that.
So, look, I wish Hendon Hooker the best. I think he can have a very good NFL career. You see dual threat quarterbacks. Look, he throws the ball better than Jalen Hurts does. Jalen was a work in progress. Saban had to continue to work on his passing and refine his passing techniques. We know what the guy was, a warrior in the workout room, could squat 600-plus pounds. They had to cut him off and cut the weights down so he wouldn't hurt himself. But he's evolved now as a passer, and now he's got the Eagles with the best record in the NFL.
And that's what we can say about both quarterbacks. We know that Bryce Young is going to bounce back from that injury stronger than ever and more determined, like a Tom Brady determined, to be the best that he can be. And the same thing with Hendon Hooker. He's going to get to the next level. He's going to prove why he needed to be, just like Tua did, why he needed to be the Heisman winner. So, Ken, hey, we settled that. We both won that debate.
That's right.
So now,
our debate was, put SEC guys in there, right? In a great year for Stetson Bennett too. But look, folks, you really look at it. Is he the best player? When you watch the NFL, is he the best player on his football team? I've got 2 guys on his team that are going to go way higher than him in the draft. Okay. Now Brock Bowers just a sophomore, but the tight end, he's the best tight end in the nation. He's going to be featured on one of the awards that he won. Brock Bowers, some people would say he was the best offensive player on the team. And Jalen Carter, the big defensive tackle, is a warrior in the middle. He's an absolute beast. He's going to be a top 5 or 6 pick in the NFL draft.
So, hey, that was the Heisman Award. We're going to give out our first awards of the night. Kim, we're going to go to the podium right now. You going to join me?
Let's do it.
Let's go. All right, Mr. Keller, let's start off with you. Who you got on the podium this week?
Well, I've got a quarterback for my first winter night. My bronze medal goes to former Oregon Duck and current NFL Charger quarterback Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert had a spectacular rookie season. He fell off. You know, back in 2020, there were 3 marquee quarterbacks that were drafted very high in the draft. Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and Tua Tagovailoa. Those 3 guys went all, I believe, in the top 5 picks of the NFL draft. They've all showed promise, but last night, man, Herbert went off. He had 39 completions, I believe, 38 or 39 completions. 50 plus
Torch
attempts.
the Dolphins.
Yeah, he had 39 completions as the Chargers beat the Dolphins. They're battling the Jets for that last wild card spot. And he bounced back and had a great game. You know, he's got some really good receivers. You got Austin Eckler at running back that's an outlet that he can throw the ball to. He's got Mike Williams at wide receiver and Keenan Allen. So Justin Herbert with those weapons, last night he dominated that football game and played very well for the Chargers. So we're here on Gold Ball Sports. Christmas, 12 Days of Christmas edition, episode 12. Justin Herbert, my bronze winner. Who's got your bronze tonight? You like that pick?
I love that pick. I watched that game start to end.
Yeah.
And Herbert showed me something I haven't seen in him all year. Calm.
Yeah.
All year long, it's almost seemed like he needed to do something. I can fix this. I can fix this. He relied on his players to help him win this game. And when you do that, you relieve pressure off yourself. He even ran a few, which we don't really see him do much. But when he stays in the pocket and he throws, he's as good, if not better, than most quarterbacks in the NFL. Well, hey.
Yeah, and you know, if I'm not mistaken, I heard last night during the broadcast that he's thrown for 3,000 yards his first 2 seasons. You know, the Chargers had some pretty good quarterbacks. They had, Big Dan Fouts in the past that put up some major yardage. But he's going to break some records. You know, can they continue to build the team around him? Those 3 quarterbacks, though, from that 2020 class, I know that Tua had an off game last night. You know, they got to get a running game there.
Right.
They got to get their offensive run blocking and their pass protection a little bit better.
We know what Tyreek did.
And
we'll talk
you got to
about
have
that.
balance. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Ken, I'm from West Virginia. You know this. My team growing up, we talk about looking up to guys. I got to watch Chad Pennington throw touchdowns to Randy Moss growing up.
Man.
You talk about a team.
Yeah.
My bronze medal this week is going to the Marshall Thundering Herd and the fans. If you've ever watched We Are Marshall, you'll know that they stood outside the office to get the program back after the plane crash, and they started cheering. Now, this was actually based on facts. You had, they say, in between 500 and 700 people on that lawn screaming, "We are Marshall." Every game you go to, there's that chant. And I got a recent trip back into Huntington, West Virginia, my hometown, and I got to hear this firsthand. I want you to listen. See if this doesn't give you chills. Yeah, so we talk about being a part of that. And in the stadium, you have one side that says "We Are," the other side screams "Marshall." The games aren't super well attended. It's not like going to a Bama game or Tennessee game or heck, even Vanderbilt game for that matter. But when the fans show up, they remember who they are. And it doesn't matter if they're ranked or they're 125th in the nation. They're going to cheer for their team, and I love that. So this week, my bronze medal goes to the Marshall Thundering Herd. Ken, who's your silver?
All right, I've got silver moving up the podium here. My silver award goes to the same game last night, man. I couldn't help it. One of the strangest plays I've ever seen, and really a great wide receiver. You know, the Dolphins were able to pick up Tyreek Cheetah Hill from the Kansas City Chiefs. There was a fumble play. Dave's going to play the video here in a second. You know, a big lead by San Diego, or by the Chargers in that game. I keep calling them San Diego. I think they're Los Angeles now. But, man, I watched them in San Diego,
muscle
man.
memory.
You know, and, when they played over the loud system, I used to play San Diego Superchargers, San Diego
I missed that.
Chargers. You got to go back and play that, man, from back in the 80s when
find
they
it.
had Kellen Winslow and some of and Dan Fouts and them guys, man, they were bad boys, man. But they had some good teams.
I got that clip if you want to see it.
Yeah, which one?
I got the Tyreek Hill recovering the
Let's
fumble.
play it, man.
Awesome.
What a heads up play, young guys. You're playing a high school football game. You're playing pee wee, whatever. Pay attention to what that football is. If there's a big scrum for the football and these big offensive and defensive linemen piled up on it, just wait for it to squirt out to you and use that speed like Tyreek Hill does right here.
Great
Check
play.
this out.
Hands on. Exactly. Here he is again, the run up the middle. He fights for the first down, but he lost the ball. Gilman kicked it out. It's still free. Tyreek's got to look out. Tyreek Hill might go. Tyreek Hill was right on the spot, and he's gone for a touchdown. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, Tyreek. The ball finds him.
Worthy
The
silver
ball
medal.
finds him. You know, Mike Tirico with a great call on that. Collinsworth, you know, as the video goes on, I mean, he's astounded. You know, said the first time he's ever seen that happen. Really, man, that guy, he turned the Jets on and he was
did.
gone. But let me tell you a stat about Tyreek Hill in his first 7 seasons in the NFL. He is among the elite in 50-yard-plus touchdown receptions. He trails only 2 guys, 2 Hall of Famers, in his first 7 years. Lance Allworth, 25 catches or touchdown catches of 50-plus yards. The GOAT, the great Jerry Rice, 24 catches in his first 7 years. Tyreek Hill, 23. He's going to break that record this year.
He'll be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and they're talking about him catching 2,000 yards in pass reception this year, which is, you know, look, the litmus test in old school days, 1,000 yards. I know they sling it around more. Possibly 2,000 for Tyreek this year.
I think Randy
He's my
Moss hit that
silver
twice.
medalist tonight here on Gold Ball
Very,
Sports.
very worthy silver medal, my man.
All right, thank you.
Well, I'm going to head into mine. I'm going to choose Mr. Baker Mayfield. Baker has been searching for that home, and I think he has finally found one with the Rams. He showed up and he showed out that last game they played, and I have actually some footage of that final drive, and we're going to take a look at that.
Mayfield from his own end zone caught to give them more light deep down the sideline, and it is caught by Skoranek. Ben Skoranek with a great catch. 35, 34, 33. Mayfield throws. That's caught. That's a first down. Here's Skoranek to the 22. Now Mayfield gets up there. He's got to spike it here. 2nd and 10. Mayfield to the end zone to Jefferson. Is that possible? Touchdown.
Unreal, Ken. Baker Mayfield went 22 of 35, 230 yards, including that game-winning toss to Van Jefferson that submitted the deal. And like I said, they torched the Raiders secondary, and it's almost like Baker came in and knew exactly what he had to do to win that game. The guy is talented. We know he is. I just don't think, and it's just like Marcus Mariota. He was in a situation where his pocket presence wasn't there because he didn't have the offensive line to protect him. He got hurt a couple times, and then he got just scared in that pocket. And so we look at a guy like Baker, who I think is another pocket passer, who's looking for that offensive line. And we know the Rams have a good offensive line where he's just going to step back and say, I got guys open. These aren't guys that you hear of every day. I mean, you've heard of Van Jefferson, but he's not a guy who's on the tip of everybody's tongues. But he nailed those passes, and especially within a minute and a half, you're in your own end zone. You drive the whole field, and within 10 seconds left in the game, you win. Yep. Baker Mayfield showed up and showed out. That's my silver medal.
That's a good one, man. You know, hey, comeback stories are good deals. So hopefully he can get some more wins like that.
Can't wait to hear your gold medal.
Well, my gold medal was really easy this week. It was hurtful, but it was easy. Sunshine. Trevor Lawrence of the Jacksonville Jaguars goes into Titan Stadium yesterday and takes down the Tennessee Titans. The Titans now fall to 7-6. They're struggling a little bit now, you know, as they get in a little tailspin here. They fired John Robinson, and they're struggling really to find an identity, you know. But look, Trevor Lawrence threw the ball on the move really good yesterday. He threw for 368 yards. He lit the Titans up. 4 touchdowns. One of those was a rushing touchdown where he himself put on his best Derrick Henry imitation. I think we got a video of that stiff arm.
Let's take a look.
On 2nd and goal from the 1, Lawrence keeps it himself. Stiff arms Cole, dives and on 2nd and goal from the 1, Lawrence keeps it himself. Stiff arms Cole, dives.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
what a play.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence, went through a tough season his first year. I think they won one game last year, the number 1 pick in the NFL draft last year. Look, I was in Atlanta Fulton County Stadium in 1989 and saw Troy Aikman play his first year. Dallas went 1-15 that year, but I saw promise in him. I saw him throw Michael Irvin a slant pattern, I think, that went for a 75-yard touchdown. I was on the 7th row at Fulton County Stadium. Dion was in that game too. But I knew then that Aikman was going to be special. I think that Trevor Lawrence, the NFL is blessed to have lots of good young quarterbacks. We've mentioned some of them.
Absolutely.
The last couple of classes, you got Burrow, you got Herbert, you got Tua, and then you got this guy Trevor Lawrence. Who knows about Zach Wilson? Maybe the Jets are starting to give up, giving Mike White the job on that experiment. The jury's still out in my mind on Justin Fields' good legs, but not much accuracy.
Brock Purdy
Yeah.
showed out.
Yeah, so some of these unknowns, coming up. So we'll see, but certainly 368 yards. I'm going to get a good look at Trevor Lawrence this weekend. Next weekend, they play the Dallas Cowboys in Jacksonville. I'm going to be at that football game and get a close look to see really if the Dallas Cowboys are Super Bowl contenders or not. And I'll report on the show next week, episode 13,
I can't
what
wait to
I
hear it.
see with Trevor Lawrence and the Dallas Cowboys going against the Cowboys.
We're going to pick that game, too. I want to see if you're right.
Yeah.
See if you're right. Perfect gold medal pick. I love it. He did torch the Titans, which they haven't won in Tennessee since 2009.
Yeah.
It was about time that we give the Jaguars a game.
Yeah.
We gave them that.
And
So
really,
it's very kind of us.
Talking about that game, Diamond Davis is the fumble on the sidelines. I mean, Derrick Henry took a big hit. He very, very rarely fumbles, but he got splattered on the sidelines.
Helmet went right into the arm.
Yeah, in a couple of couple interceptions in that game again by Tannehill, man. So, but look, you can't turn the ball over 3 times like they did yesterday and win.
And we all know
it
that
doesn't matter who you're playing in the NFL. You lose turnover margin by like that, you're gonna lose. And look, you got to give. Early in that game, Jacksonville kept kicking field goals. They were just kind of hanging around, field goal. But then that pass that went through the defender's hand at the end zone, and they caught it. That was a big play.
And Titans are one of those teams where once you find out how to beat their secondary, you can expose it and win the football game. We know that the Titans have struggled in the secondary for years.
Yeah.
I think Trevor Lawrence just exposed a weakness in our roster. Well, I'm going to go to my gold medal for the podium. And I have something real special because I have a close connection with this. But I want to give away our gold medal to the kids in this region, high school players, who were all region picks. Now, I'm going to start with some Coffee County. Cole Pippinger was all region. And I tried, and forgive me, I tried to look for some artwork online for Coffee County. I just couldn't find it. I looked everywhere, Facebook, Twitter. I scoured the internet. But I do want to give a big praise to Coffee County. Great season. First playoff win in 100 years for Coffee County.
And Pippinger was a big part of that. They beat Tullahoma 35-14, so they
he's headed to Mississippi State, right?
Well, he's committed to them in baseball, but he's still got 2 more years left.
He could be a dual threat sport player there. I'll tell you that.
He's a good athlete.
But headed
Excellent
into
athlete.
Tullahoma, the second team, I do have Liam Grider, Mason Miller, and one that I'm proud of, my son, Ezra Myers, Easy Money. We're second team all region.
Man, that's fantastic. Congratulations to Easy E.
Hey.
And then Liam Grider, he played stout at cornerback this year. Mason Miller, probably the strongest lineman on offense, and worked both sides of the line. And then Easy Money, came in. We thought he was going to play linebacker, moved him to defensive end. He played some fullback and tight end on offense, and man, he had a fantastic season.
He's moving around.
Yeah, moving man. And that's the size of versatility. Playing H-back and all these different positions, fullback, lead blocker. You know, and looking forward to what he does his senior season. But congratulations to Ezra on that award, man. Great recipient.
Liam and Mason, fantastic. First team, we do have Ethan Hargrove and Grant Chadwick. We all know the leg of the mule. He can kick a field goal. I've watched him in practice kick 55-yarders before. Said that he practiced with Brett Kern a few times.
Oh, wow.
This guy, if you haven't seen Grant Chadwick kick a ball and you're in this region, you're missing out.
Yeah,
this kid is incredible.
One of the top punters in the country as well. And, I mean, the guy's, 6'4", 6'5"? He's tall.
He's tall.
I saw him, we're starting a junior NBA up here in Tullahoma, and the high school basketball coach brought some of his players out, to help tutor the kids and teach them some fundamentals. And, I looked at Scott Chastain. He was over there with me. We're going to be coaching the Lakers. Yeah, I've kind of blasphemed against my Celtics because I've agreed to let our team name be the Lakers. Scott's favorite team, Magic Johnson. I'm a Larry Bird guy.
How could you do that?
But I'm going to be wearing the purple and gold because I'm a team player.
Why don't you call yourselves the Lakers, but you wear green jerseys?
There you go.
There it is. So my gold medal goes to Coffee County and Tullahoma High School, all region players. Y'all deserved it. Next year, I cannot wait. Moving up to that new division, having those old rivals back. It's going to be a great year. So, hey, Ken, that's good for our awards. Let's head into seeing just what college football gave away this year. We're going to take a look at the college football awards that were just given out. I'm going to kind of wrap these off. I'd love to get your opinions on each of these. I know that to start off with, we're going to hit a couple that aren't very known. For instance, we do have, let me see here. We have our Ray Guy Award that is given to the punter of the year.
Top punter. So let me tell you. So what you want to do with these awards is say who the guy was that's named for the award. Ray Guy, man, was Thunderfoot, man, back in the 70s for the Oakland Raiders and John Madden. This guy had some booming hang times that he would punt the ball so high, man, they would always have to fair catch him. He's the only punter in NFL history that's in the Hall of Fame right now. So Ray Guy for the Silver and Black. So that's who that award was named after for the nation's top punter. And who took that award home?
That's going to be Adam Korsak for Rutgers. And you know what, Ken? Watching the Titans play, we know that a punter can change the course of a game.
Doubt.
With Stonehouse now, but coming from Brett Kern, we know that games can be decided on a punt within the 10-yard line of an opposing team.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah.
I mean, it flips field position. I mean, if you look back at the Tennessee-Georgia game, I think Georgia had like a 68-yard punt in that game down to the 1 yard, 68 or 70 yards. It flips field position. It changes the dynamics of the football game. It's a critical position. The kicking game is so important.
So we'll head to that next one. Is the Lou Groza Award, and that one's going to Christopher Dunn. That's a place kicker award.
Yeah.
And he's from NC State.
The Wolfpack, he won a game against North Carolina, I think, in overtime late in that game. Look, kicking is clutch. Just ask Scott Chastain and his song, Two Kids Kicking. I mean, you get down to Alabama and Tennessee. Alabama missed their kick at the end of the game. Tennessee made theirs. Look, games are won and lost. Playoff bursts hinge on field goal kickers sometimes. The difference between winning and losing is having a good, dependable, solid kicker.
That's right.
Look, how the season would have changed if the kicker, and I can't remember him, but I gave him my participation trophy early in the season, but he redeemed himself and got a podium award. Harrison
Butker?
Yeah, it might have been Harrison Butker for the Missouri Tigers. They had Georgia. Now, he had a great game against Georgia. They had Auburn beat, and he missed a 22-yard field goal.
That's right. I remember
But he did good. I think he hit 5 field goals against the Georgia Bulldogs, and then that near upset against the number one team in the nation.
And going back into the talk of NFL teams.
I think it might have been Harrison Mevis.
That's it.
I can't remember. I don't know. Yeah,
a lot of names. But
Butker's used to be the kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs, Harrison Butker. So
yes,
this is Harrison Mevis, I believe. Yeah.
But we know firsthand, especially in Tennessee, but around the league, we had a problem with having a place kicker here in Tennessee, and it cost us 5 or 6 games in one season.
Yeah.
So
we've seen the Chadwick brothers the last 2 years for Tullahoma High School. Scott and I, we called all those games, and when you can kick off to start a game or after scoring possession and kick the ball through the end zone every time and make the team start from their 20.
That's right.
Or you can be a threat from 45 yards in on a field goal. Hey, that's a weapon.
It is.
That's a weapon.
It is. I agree. Moving on, we're going to give away the Jim Thorpe Award. I know that you're going to talk about Jim Thorpe, but I'm going to give, or college gave this to Travius Hodges Tomlinson, who's on TCU. Great defensive back. So Jim Thorpe, hit on him a little bit.
Oh, Jim Thorpe, one of the great, he played in the area where they just had those leather helmets without face masks on them. That's how tough that guy is. But, a great overall natural athlete. He's mentioned along the best, with Bo Jackson and Herschel Walker, just as far as athletic, his athleticism, man, and his body type and being able to dominate games, So Jim Thorpe for the top defensive back.
When you could stay in people's minds and even get an award after you this many years, you've been doing something right.
Yeah.
That's why I'm going to have the Dave Myers Award for production on.
There you go. That's right. That's what I'm talking about, Diamond Dave.
So moving on, we're going to give away the John Mackey Award to the best tight end of the year. That was Brock Bowers of Georgia. John Mackey, you got much on John?
I think he played in the Super Bowl. I think he was a Super Bowl champion with the Baltimore Colts, if I'm not mistaken, back in the early 70s with Earl Morrall and some of them guys.
Yeah, heard that name.
They beat the Cowboys 16-13, I think, in the 71 Super Bowl in overtime. An overtime Super Bowl and a field goal. Jim O'Brien kicked the field goal in that game.
Yep.
Look, to me, this was the easiest award to give because Brock Bowers
is an incredible player.
Look, this guy's a Jason Witten type. This guy's a Rob Gronkowski type, but he's almost like a souped up wide receiver.
Reminds me a lot of Tony Gonzalez.
Tony Gonzalez, I think that's a better comparison, man. He's one of the best. But Gonzalez, you see Travis Kelce dominating the NFL with the Chiefs at the tight end position. This guy's got a bright future ahead of him. One more year with Georgia, though. He's just a sophomore, but clearly the best. The best among the best of the tight ends.
I can't wait to see him next year. That's for sure. So we're going to get into
I like that Tony Gonzalez comparison.
And his body, his body shape looks exactly like Tony. Anyways, we're going to get into the Big Six now. We're going to go.
And I have seen him dunk in the goalpost. I saw him do that numerous times the last couple of years. And Gonzalez used to do that all the time.
That's right.
He would score a touchdown, and it's like, man, that goalpost is 10 feet in the air.
That Lambeau leap will be easy for him.
And they're way over that goalpost.
That's right. The Home Depot Coach of the Year award goes to Sonny Dykes out of TCU. I don't need to ask you about Home Depot. I've been there a lot, so you don't need to give me the details on that. But what do you think about that pick?
Sonny Dykes, a class act.
He is.
You could see the disappointment in his face when he lost to Kansas State in the Big 12 championship. But I lauded his character. He went over there. He shook hands. He was disappointed. But, hey, man, he got another shot. Good for him. I'm telling you, I'm rooting for TCU in the playoffs to win. I want them to win. They're the underdog. I'm an underdog type of guy.
And you can see that in his players. You take on the characteristics of the guy leading you. And his players are upstanding guys. Even Max Duggan, although I think that he's taken away from some of our guys being finalists at Heisman talk. I think those players are fantastic guys, and you learn that from having a good head coach. And I think that award is very well given.
A great season by the Horned Frogs, and congratulations to them. They got farther than Gary Patterson took them. Gary Patterson could never get him in the playoffs.
That's right.
But Sonny Dykes done it, and man, good for him. He's a good guy.
I think the highest they were ranked before Sonny was 10 in the nation.
Yeah, they had some good teams in the past.
Yeah, they've
had some really. LaDainian Tomlinson, I think, played there, didn't he?
I believe so. I think
he was a Horned Frog, if I'm not mistaken.
And so college gave away the Doak Walker Award for the running back of the year, and that went to Bijan Robinson. So about Doak Walker. What do you also think about that pick as well?
Well, I think it's a good pick. He came in the season the consensus #1 ranked NFL prospect at running back. I don't think he did anything to hurt his stock, so he's going to be the first running back to come off the board in the NFL draft this year.
Yeah, and we rattled off some stats before: 1,580 yards carrying, 18 touchdowns, 19 catches, and 315 yards, and 2 receiving touchdowns. This guy's a dual threat. In the NFL, he's going to be a dual threat, and he'll continue to be. The Biletnikoff Award for the receiver of the year goes to Tennessee's own Jalen Hyatt. He some people are upset, and this was an upset from Marvin Harrison Jr.'s point of view. But I from Ohio State. But I believe Jalen Hyatt was the rightful winner of this. 67 catches, 1,267 yards, 15 touchdowns versus ranked opponents. Get this. Hyatt had 37 catches, 602 yards with 9 touchdowns against AP Top 25.
Yeah. You know, look what Marvin had. Look what Jalen Hyatt did against Alabama.
Right.
5 touchdowns, 200 yards, whatever it was, 201, 5 touchdowns. They're still trying to figure out where he's at on the field. But yeah, I mean, big players show up in big games. Freddie Biletnikoff, the guy that this award's named after, man. Look, he played back in the 70s with Cliff Branch on one side, him on the other. Back when the jersey numbers you could wear 20s. He was number 25. Cliff Branch on the other side, a speed merchant number 21. Stabler would just throw him bombs. But man, you talk about Freddie Biletnikoff, the stickum on his socks. He had his, no gloves back in that day, man. They taped the wrist up with it white. And, man, he had a square-looking helmet. Go look at some of the pictures.
And you were telling me.
it's just a square. It's like, man, his helmet's different. Everybody else is rounded at the top. Staubach had a rounded helmet. This dude had a block.
Now,
I don't know. It looked like one of the blockheads.
You don't know that their heads weren't squares, though.
Yeah, I'm not so sure.
They might have gotten hit so hard. But you were telling me he kind of pioneered that stick, and it transformed into the gloves.
He did, and it later got outlawed in the NFL. Man, you can put whatever you want to on your hands, but you still got to have great hand-eye coordination to catch a ball like he did. Freddie Biletnikoff was great. Jalen Hyatt, I have no beef with him winning the Biletnikoff Award. Marvin Harrison is fantastic. He dropped 1 pass all season for Ohio State. But Jalen Hyatt, in a year to where some of their other receivers, okay, maybe like a certain guy named Cedric Tillman, in my mind, I was saying this guy's the best receiver coming to the conference. When he got hurt, I said, oh, no problem with Tennessee. Cedric Tillman's out. He's limping around with a high ankle sprain, going to be out several weeks. Had the the little surgery thing, that tightrope surgery. I said, man, don't worry. Jalen Hyatt torched Alabama. He knocked them out of the college football playoffs.
And if we're looking at the stat comparison solely, well, we talked about Jalen's ranked opponent stats, 37 catches to Harrison's 22, 602 yards to Harrison's 360 yards, 9 touchdowns to Harrison's 1.
Yeah.
So you start comparing that and you're going, against ranked teams, in those big moments, Jalen Hyatt has stepped up. So we'll move on to the Davey O'Brien Award for the Quarterback of the Year. This is where I want your opinion. I'm going to rat some stats off, but that award went to Max Duggan of TCU, and he had 3,321 yards, 30 touchdowns, 64.9% completion, 404 rushing yards with 6 rushing touchdowns. What do you think about that pick?
Okay, which award? Davey O'Brien?
That's the Davey O'Brien.
Because sometimes on these awards, these guys, if they're still alive or they have family members still living, some of these guys have input on these picks.
Okay.
I don't think it's just the college writers. I think the family sometimes has direction on it. So to me, that's a character award too. Okay.
Okay.
And so that may have something to do with it. But look, Duggan had a great year for TCU. Man, several cardiac comebacks. And I can't fault that a bit. I'm glad for him.
And we talk about
I'm glad for the TCU got a lot of awards.
I do too. And we're talking about Hooker and Young for Heisman consideration. You also got to look at the fact of who Max Duggan is to that TCU organization.
That's right.
He is their quarterback. He is their man.
Yeah, I don't even think I think there was an injury in front of him. I don't think he was a projected starting quarterback coming into the season.
He was injured end of last season, and he was still dealing with that at the beginning of this one. You're right. They were even talking about, I forget his name, the guy underneath him. I think he's a sophomore. But him starting, and Max was like, nah, that ain't gonna happen. So I agree with you. I think that award is very well deserved for Max, and the season that they have, it's just a good story for football.
It is.
It really is.
I'm into Cinderella stories, and I was rooting for TCU all the way up until the last game. Wanting them to stay in there because I didn't think Alabama had a chance. But then when USC lost, and then they lost, I said, hey, maybe.
We're going to look at the Chuck Bednarik Award, and that goes to the Defensive Player of the Year. And that, my friend, was Will Anderson, Jr. of Alabama. Check this out. 51 tackles, 10 sacks, 12 hurries. And this comes off a season that he had 17 and a half sacks. So he's double-teamed most of this year and still had those stats.
Yeah, double and triple teamed. He's kind of like the Terminator. He just keeps coming. He's relentless. But Chuck Bednarik was a bad dude. I believe he played linebacker for the Philadelphia Eagles.
He did.
Big physical guy. He would tear your head off. He was just a Terminator himself, Chuck Bednarik.
He's an angry man.
Yeah, Hall of Famer. But Will Anderson, he talked a little bit too much this year. Okay.
Yeah.
He did talk about going into opposing stadiums and running them out by halftime. That's what Alabama used to do. They didn't quite have the dogs to do it this year, so Saban's wanting to get him back to that point. Okay.
Yeah.
But he's got a bright NFL future. I think he's a top 3 overall NFL pick.
The great thing about that pick, too, is that Alabama this season is nurturing guys that are Will Anderson, like, who are going to step up in the next. I'm excited to see Alabama's defense. It's going to be strong. Now, whether their offense without Bryce, I know that they have a good offense. They're going to continue to, but I feel like defense wins football games. And that's why Alabama's been so stout these past however many years. What was it, 30?
Defense wins
32?
championships.
I mean,
even in this day and age, you look who's number one seed. Who's got the best defense? The Georgia Bulldogs right now.
That's right.
They put 5 first-rounders, I think, in the NFL last year, and they just reload and restock. Man, you got to build a line of scrimmage. You got to build through the middle back, and be strong at safety, linebacker, and defensive front. You get a quarterback. Look, Stetson Bennett, kind of a game manager. He's not a superstar that's going to light you up for 400 yards. If he takes care of the football, he's good enough to win. And look, he was in the Heisman Trophy contention with the number 1 defense, the best tight end, and a good running game and strong line.
Yeah, Stetson's one of those guys that is very cerebral when he plays. He knows how to expose defenses. All right, and then we're going to head to our last one that college gave out. It's that Maxwell Award. That's the Player of the Year. And that goes to Caleb Williams, USC.
Is it, though? Is it really? That's the one I got to beat. Look, this guy, I don't have a problem with his performance. Great player. Transferred from Oklahoma. Left with Lincoln Riley to go to USC. That team turned it around. I think they won 4 games last year. They had 19 guys from the transfer portal. Folks, you can rebuild a team really fast. Watch what Deion Sanders does with Colorado. He's already went and had to talk with them boys. I'm bringing my son in to be the quarterback. I'm bringing some of my dogs. I'm bringing some luggage with me. And I predict 2024 is the first year they're going to go to 12 teams in the college football playoff. I'm going to blow your mind right now. Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes are going to be upstart. They're going to get in out of that Pac-12 in 2 years. Watch.
I will not doubt it.
That's my prediction. We'll have to archive this show for a later date.
I will not doubt it. They even talked about upping the amount of finalists for Heisman because there's so much talk about other players not getting in.
Yeah.
They talk about going to 6 or 8 on the Heisman finalists, but I agree with you. I think Deion going there. Okay, so Caleb Williams, I'm going to give you some stats. 4,075 yards, 37 touchdowns, 66% completions, 367 rushing yards with 10 rushing touchdowns. But here's the thing that got me.
His fingernails, though. Come on, man. Look, you know what this reminded me of?
I agree.
When he's playing in the Pac-12 championship. Now, I didn't see it during the game. Somebody can hit us up on Facebook and let me know if they commentate on it. Say, oh, look what these explicits he's got wrote on his fingernails. You know what I thought of? I thought of old Billy Ripken's old baseball card. The 1989 Fleer. He's holding a baseball bat and he's smiling. Don't tell me he didn't know what was on the bottom of that bat.
We're seeing it on screen now.
Yeah, don't tell me he didn't know what was on the bottom. I think the baseball card manufacturer Fleer changed that 4 different times. They put like an X through it. They put some white out over it. They changed the words. So there was 4 different variations, but that one's the most valuable card. One of the most valuable cards of that 89 Fleer said, I don't have it for my collection. But that just goes, come on, guys, don't act like knuckleheads. So and I think he was joking around with his. Somebody may have been playing a joke on Ripken. Look, but when you write that on your own, you know it's on your fingernails. Yeah. You're mocking the other team. And you're kind of showing what you are as a person, what your character is.
Right.
And I don't go for that.
Yeah,
mess.
that is something that you knowingly have to do. Yeah. I feel like that card with Ripken was somebody on his team trying to get a rouse out of him.
Yeah, and I got sent a text from my good friend Jared Swain, and he interacts with us here on the show, and he's talking about, how Tim Tebow, when he goes to the NFL, on the other flip side of it, wearing, the paint with the crosses on it, the NFL trying to find him or make him, take that off or ridicule him or mocking him, making fun of him, but somebody can go unscathed and put blank 4-letter word, Utah, on their fingernails and paint it just, perfect lettering. And show it to the world. Come on, man. I'm glad they lost that game. That might be a reason they did lose. I guarantee you it probably got the Utah defense fired up that game.
Absolutely. How is there no repercussion? Anyways, moving on. So that's the College Awards. Now, we do have one of our premier experts that has weighed in this week. He is the shortest man on staff here at Gold Ball Sports.
He is.
Mr. Bill is going to hand out a They Did What. He's going to give a They Did What, and we're going to go to that right now.
We're going to put him by the Christmas decorations.
Perfect.
Diamond Dave.
He's going to be our elf on the shelf.
Thanks to Mr. Ken and Mr. Dave for allowing me to present my They Did What segment for this week. My first thought was for Texas A&M football coach Jimbo Fisher talking with Bobby Petrino about his offensive coordinator position. Dirt neck and neck brace. A match made in heaven. Petrino sure could have used Mr. Bill's safety tips, but oh no! The University of Alabama's men's basketball team defeated its second #1 ranked team in 2 weeks. Coach Nate Oates has completely overhauled his roster this year, and the Tide roster is young, deep, athletic, unselfish, and really mean to its opponents. Saturday, they beat the University of Houston with consistent effort and stifling defense, which is how the Tide football team used to beat teams. Sluggo says maybe Coach Saban needs to get some advice from Coach Oates on defensive strategy, effective use of the transfer portal, and dealing with player anxiety. Or maybe Alabama is transitioning from a football school to a basketball school. Well, that's all for this week. Uh-oh. Sluggo says he's going to give me something to be anxious about. Oh, no!
Perfect.
Fantastic job there by Mr. Bill.
That was awesome.
Has Alabama transitioned to a basketball school? Well, guess what? The AP poll came out today, and they're ranked #4 behind only Purdue, Virginia, and UConn. That's your top 4. Tennessee at #6. So here we go again. Tennessee and Alabama fans fighting about who should be ranked highest. But look, Alabama 8-1. They're only lost the season to UConn, and they've played a brutal schedule so far. They played UConn. They played Michigan State. They got Gonzaga in Memphis coming up this week. Gonzaga was preseason #3. They took on Houston 15 points down in that game, 7.5 minutes to go. And they came back and won the game. They had 4 freshmen on the court at the end of the game. They win it going away 71-65. Nate Oates doing the job. That's the first team, I believe, to beat 2 #1s by January the 1st of a basketball season since the 1960s. That's big time.
That's big. And, we'll talk about those games coming up. Those are 2 really good games. The great thing about it is, now that Tennessee and Alabama's got some good basketball, it's almost like all year long.
Yeah.
Because Tennessee had a great baseball team. I mean, you could watch your school dominate in the sport if you're a fan of either one of those. But there are several games coming up that I really want to talk about.
Yeah, and it's a time of the year. When Scott, you're gonna see him. You ain't been around him during March. March Madness is his thing. We love that college basketball tournament, man. We love the brackets. We love the matchups.
I do too.
First Thursday and Friday games are incredible.
Especially having some of that tournament. Especially having some of that tournament in Nashville.
These Tier 1 games that you win early. I think they call them Tier 1. Is that what they call them?
Yes.
So you accumulate them and start, adding them up. Alabama, if they can get a #1 seed at the end of the season, the first 2 rounds they could play in Birmingham. They could get the whole #1 seed, the Southeast region, and they could have home crowd advantage there. That's what they want. And that's why you want to be a top 4 seed, because you get to play the 16. Not very many 1 versus 16 upsets. 5-12, they're big time upsets. But look, the SEC strong again this year. So
they are.
I'm anxious to see them beat each other up. But these non-conference wins, they're notching. Tennessee, actually, you talked about them. They beat Kansas earlier this year, played some rugged defense, and beat a good Kansas team, the reigning national champions. Being anxious to see how this SEC unfolds. And look, I love it. I love college. I love hearing Al McGuire back in the 70s, man. Dick Enberg, Billy Packer, all these guys, man. And now Jay Billis. I think Jay Billis is the best. He called that Alabama-Houston game. That game was at Houston. That's what's impressive about that Alabama win. That's going to carry some weight to the committee later on in the season.
That is. Well, that leads perfectly, since Mr. Bill gave out an award, for us to give out another award. And this is probably one that people don't want to get, but we're going to give out anyways. It's our participation trophy. Scott, what do you say about the participation trophy?
Well, I've got a good one this week.
No. What do you say always?
Oh,
That's
man,
it.
You got me.
Hey, we're right up here, baby.
There we are. Gold Ball Sports, where participation trophies simply don't cut it.
All right, so we're going to give out the participation trophy. And these typically go to the players and the plays that don't really make much sense. Ken, I have to give one to a player I thought would be.
I know what you're fixing to do. You know what? Because before you sent yours to me first this week.
I did.
I had that already on my phone to send you before the deadline, but you got it.
You know what? I'm not going to say anything. You take a look.
It's over. Pels.
No.
Get it done. And on the spin and the reverse, the slam by Zion.
Oh, no.
Get it done. Spin and the reverse, the slam.
Man, that's beautiful.
Y'all.
I love the announcer that, no, the game was over, right?
The game was over. They're up in plenty enough points on the board to beat the Suns. They don't have to do that. Zion, buddy, grow up. Dude, you're a great player. I think you could be a real notch in this league if you just learn how to compose yourself. I slowed down that video and I pointed out one of his teammates on the sideline. You can see it clearly, holding his hand up like, Zion, don't. And when he did it, he goes, like you do some child who just ate a piece of chocolate before bed. Zion, my participation trophy goes to you because you need to grow up. That's all I got to say.
Hey, that was a great dunk. He should just save that for the dunk contest. They still have the three-point dunk contest at the All-Star game.
I would have given him a 10 instead of a negative 1.
I'm just going to make one comment relative to that. He better be glad he don't have to go on the road and go against the mailman Karl Malone or go to Detroit to, what do they used to call that dome in Detroit where they used to play? The Pontiac Dome, the Silver Dome. That's where they used to play basketball and football with the Lions and the Pistons. Bill Laimbeer.
Or one of your favorites.
Or Kurt Rambis.
Larry Bird.
Or Larry Bird.
Throwing elbows.
Larry Bird and Kevin McHale both would have took him out, man. So, look, the NBA's changed their game a little bit, but I am a Zion fan. I like him. I think he's a great talent. He's been injured. He's overcoming those injuries. I believe he came out 2019 class. And his basketball cards are skyrocketing. His rookie cards are.
In the past 9 games, he's averaged 30 points a game.
Yeah.
And he's really stepped up on that Pelicans team who needed somebody to step up in that leading role. However, when you start doing that and your team is getting booed when you walk into stadiums, you got to change something, dog. You got to change something.
He's just as big as Charles Barkley to me. I mean, I'm more big, 6'10", and Barkley was 6'6".
Very animated.
But we could just take over a game physically. Look, they don't play basketball in the NBA anymore. You're seeing guys getting 30, 40 points a game because they just, they shadow guard them. They just watch them make highlight dunks and go right down the lane.
Or we saw that
You go back
game.
to the 80s. You go back to the Motown Pistons. You go back to the Bulls. You go back to the New York Knicks, the Celtics, the Lakers. You're going to get clubbed when you come through the lane. You're going to get a bloody nose.
And he's a big
And
guy.
you're not going to have any uncontested baskets, I'll tell
That's
you
right.
that right now, unless you got a breakaway dunk or breakaway layup.
He reminds me of a young LeBron, and I hate saying that, but he can shoot the three, he can do the dunks, and he had a couple of great assists that game too. All around great player. He's just got to wise up. Hey, I know that we're running a little bit long. Stick with us. It's our award show. It's supposed to be special, right? So stick with us. We're going to do some picks, and then we're going to end on a very awesome thing. Ken, tell me about your participation trophy.
Yeah, real quick, my participation trophy tonight goes to last night. I was watching Sunday Night Football, the most egregious, worst roughing the passer call I've ever seen in NFL history. So my participation trophy goes to NFL referee Scott Novak for calling a roughing the passer penalty on Jalen Phillips in his sack of Justin Herbert Diamond Dave, show the video.
I got you.
We've got.
3rd and 9. Dolphins bringing pressure. Phillips up the middle, gets there. And Jalen Phillips has a couple of sacks on his homecoming night.
Spin right off of it. He wanted no part of that chip, and that was perfect. We talked his homecoming. What a play.
Foul. Roughing the passer on the defense. It's a 15-yard penalty and an automatic first down.
Is that body weight on him, Terry?
For all his body weight. He does try to brace, maybe not as effectively as they would like to see, but I just don't. This is a normal tackle, and I.
Scott Novak, NFL referee, you're famous because you received my participation award on episode 12 of Gold Ball Sports. Congratulations. You're famous. You got on TV a second time. That's pitiful, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. You're going to call a roughing the pass. You know, talk about, go back and watch some of them hits the Steelers put on Roger Staubach. Look at some of them hits the Raiders put on Terry Bradshaw, the Cleveland Browns put on Terry Bradshaw. Man, I mean,
you can't touch a quarterback anymore.
No.
Especially
can't breathe on them.
When you start selling injuries in the NFL like you do at soccer, the game changes. And I don't want that to happen. That was a clean hit by Jalen Phillips. Justin Herbert sold that one.
Textbook. That's how you
held his arm like this.
Yeah.
Because Jalen Phillips getting up off of him and touching his shoulder hurt so bad. Jeez. Ridiculous. Terrible. All right. Hey, let's do some picks of the week. Let's get some of these going. I'm gonna give you these games. You let me know what you think about them. First up, on Tuesday, 8 p.m., we got Alabama against Memphis. We know that Charles Bediako, you got Brandon Miller, who's from Antioch, by the way, Antioch, Tennessee, went Cane Ridge High School, are on that team. Brandon is one of the standouts right now as a freshman, 19.1 points per game, 9 rebounds per game. What do you think about this game?
Noah Clowney, another talented freshman Alabama's got.
Absolutely.
They had 4 at the end of the game, as I said, in that big win over upset number 1 Houston. But Memphis beat undefeated Auburn, so they're a good team too. So they're giant killers on SEC teams. This is going to be a good game, but Alabama's at home for this one, I believe, on Tuesday before they play Gonzaga. I think at a neutral site. But I'm gonna take Alabama to win this one because they're home, but it's going to be a tough game. They could be an upset there, Bruin.
And this year they do have a 17-point differential rating scoring margin. They're also getting 49 rebounds a game and 15 turnovers a game. That's going to do a lot because Memphis this year hasn't held onto the ball too well, but we're going to see. That's going to be a test, and I'll also pick Alabama to win that one. Moving on Wednesday at 8 p.m., we got UCLA versus Maryland. That's going to be a great game.
Yeah, UCLA and Maryland, two tournament teams. And I guess I'm going to have to go with Bill Walton's alma mater.
Right.
And take the Bruins. The Terrapins are a good team, too. That's Lenny Bias, his former school. He was one of the best players that never played in the NBA. He had a cocaine overdose. He was drafted by the Celtics. He was going to play with that great Celtics team with Larry Bird, Robert Parrish, Kevin McHale, and all them, man. And unfortunately died. Was their first draft pick. But Terrapins against the Bruins, give me UCLA, the powder blue.
Yeah, and I think if UCLA can defend that perimeter, get Maryland off their three-point game, we could see UCLA take that
that's
game.
where the ball, but LaMelo and his brother played.
That's
the
right.
Ball brothers.
That's right.
So their daddy, the big ball and tennis shoes that he created, right? Are they still selling? Or did they shut them down?
Yeah, he's actually had a pretty good year.
Okay.
I think.
No, I'm talking about the tennis shoes.
Oh.
Man. You got some big balling shoes on?
I don't have any shoes on, my man.
I go with it.
I go ball sports like I'm on the beach. Like I'm on the beach, baby.
That's it.
All right, the third game we're going to talk about this week is going to be Chattanooga versus MTSU. That's Thursday at 6 p.m. I love watching MTSU play this year, although I don't think they have an answer for Chattanooga. You got Jake Stevens going 22.1 points per game. He's a 6'10 senior, and he's out of West Virginia. But he is their star, and there's not anybody on MTSU that can really defend against those big interior players.
Team defense, baby. Give me the Blue Raiders, my alma mater, and the upset. I'm class of 88.
We'll see who does.
When I was at MTSU, I was in a dorm, and the quad beside me had 4 players in it that were basketball players, and one of them was Randy Henry. He was 6'9".
Oh, yeah.
So you can imagine, we go in there and take showers. Randy Henry 6'9", I'm 5'7". He was a monster. And that year, I think 87 or 88, they beat Tennessee and Georgia in the same year. And then Dana Barrows came in from the Big East.
Oh, yes.
I think he might have been with Providence. But he was a sharpshooter, went on to play the Boston Celtics. But I was at them games in Murphy Center, and I saw them in back-to-back weeks beat Tennessee and Georgia back-to-back before losing. I think it's against Providence, if I'm not mistaken. It's some Big East school that Barrows played for.
I went ahead and picked Chattanooga on this. We'll see who gets that one.
Okay.
I want MTSU to win. I just don't think they have an answer for Chattanooga's big players. You also have Chattanooga at 40% three-point. It's 19th in the nation, and they're averaging 18.5 points per game. Although there is an intangible. MTSU knows how to win.
Yeah.
In big games. They've done it before, so we'll see who pulls that off. Number 4, we're going to go to Alabama versus Gonzaga, and that's going to be Saturday at noon. That's the Cam Newton Classic. I want to hear your opinion. Who do you think?
Look, the Bulldogs of Gonzaga, are they the Zags or the Bulldogs?
Bulldogs.
Okay. I think they're going to beat Alabama. Alabama's due for a loss before conference play, so I think they're going to beat Memphis and lose to Gonzaga. They're going to they're going to split this week between the two big games. I hope they win both of them, but we'll see.
Here's what I feel.
I like Gonzaga's head coach.
Gonzaga is a great shooting team this year. 50% field goal shooting. However, Alabama leads the NCAA in defense, offense, and total rebounds.
Whoa.
That's Alabama. And
are we talking about basketball or football here? We're not talking about Nick Saban's defense. We're talking about Nate Oates' defense.
They're at 50 rebounds per game.
Wow.
They also have 6.4 blocks per game. This is a very physical team that, like old school basketball, is not going to give you a clear shot. So Gonzaga is going to have to find a way around Alabama's defense, which no matter what sport you're playing, baseball, basketball, football, defense is going to win your game. And so I'm going to choose Alabama on this. It's going to be a very good game. I think Gonzaga is shooting lights out this year, although Alabama has the interior and they have the defense to go. So
yeah, Bama 4 freshmen on the court at the end of the game against Houston. Experience counts. You get in these big games like this in a tournament action, a veteran coach and veteran players, man, they know how to play the game and they know how to win in crunch time. So that's going to be it's going to be a good game.
It's going to be a good game. Next up, we got Indiana at Kansas, and that's Saturday at 11 a.m. Ken, I feel like Kansas might pull this one off. I like Indiana. They're shooting 52% from the field. That's third in all of college basketball. Yeah. Plus, they have Trace Jackson Davis, who's their 6'9" senior, going off on 17.5 points per game. But we can't get around going 77 points per game and also having Jalen Wilson on your team. Kansas is going to utilize Jalen Wilson, who's scoring 22 points per game this year. I think they're just going to run Indiana out of the building.
Yeah, this is not the 1976 unbeaten Indiana Hoosiers with Bobby Knight and Kent Benson and Quinn Buckner and Scott May. That's I think the last team in college basketball to run the table and go unbeaten. It's going to be Kansas.
Indiana's a good team. I think they're going to be in the playoffs this year.
Tournament?
Yeah, I think they'll be in the tournament. The big dance.
Yeah, we called it that because we can call it what we want to on this show, right?
But like I said, this week is full of these games where you're like, these games are barn burners. Yeah. These are good games. Like this next one. It's going to be number 1 Houston.
Oh, man, yeah.
At number 3 Virginia.
Yeah, I think Virginia's ranked second now behind Purdue.
Are they?
Yeah,
these stats were put.
And I think Houston dropped to 5, Tennessee 6. So they dropped from 1 to 5 after the Alabama loss. It's going to be a great matchup. I think that Houston beat Virginia, so Virginia's going to be looking for revenge, but Houston's going to look to bounce back too. So
that's it.
It's going to be a great one.
This is our game of the week, by the way.
Oh, we got to pick it then, don't we?
This is our game of the week. Because
here's the
thing. Let me give you this first. Houston has great defense. I don't really see any true standouts. There's a couple players that I know are going to get drafted. However, they're holding teams to 47 points per game this year. That is first in college basketball.
Who's that? Which one?
That's Houston.
Okay. Yeah.
But Virginia has 4 players averaging double digits. They're also shooting 40% three-point. The key to the game, I think, is Houston's perimeter defense because just like Just like, who was the team I said? Was it Gonzaga? No, Kansas. I mean, regardless, Virginia's got some shooters. Utah has got to defend that perimeter, and I think they're going to pull it off. I'm choosing, though, Virginia.
Phi Slamma Jamma lost to Alabama, but they're not going to lose to the Virginia Cavaliers. Give me Houston in a bounce-back win.
Okay, we'll have another debate.
Yeah.
Don't tempt me. All right, here we go. Now we're going to go to these last two. These are good games. UCLA versus Kentucky.
Man. UCLA's got a tough week then, don't they?
They do.
Yeah. Man, I got to go SEC on this one. You know, Kentucky's definitely not have proved this year in the SEC they're not a football school. So give me the basketball team on this.
Yeah. You talk about UCLA.
Don't get mad at me now, Wildcat fans, but they did not do what they were supposed to do this year on the football field. They were projected second. Nowhere close there.
All right, hey, Bill Brinkley says Bama beats the Zags.
Okay, I like it.
I went with you. You're good.
I think Mr. Bill agrees.
Here's
so
what I
right
feel about this game right here. UCLA is going to play their heart out against Maryland. They're going to be a little bit gassed for Kentucky because Kentucky's going to run them up and down the court. I choose Kentucky. John
Calipari and the Kentucky Wildcats.
Yeah, Kentucky's scoring 82 points per game this year. They've also got the freshman Cason Wallace, who's going 11 points per game and 5 assists per game.
Man, you've done some stat research.
I have. I love these games, man. I love college hoops. I love college sports.
Guru. We're transitioning to basketball. Football season's about over, man. So we're going this, and Scott's going to eat this stuff up. I like your stats. He keeps stats. He's up in the press box. Y'all see him with them football games, man. He calls the game and still does the stats. That left
if I'm watching baseball, I got my my little score sheet out.
And do you know how hard it is to call a high school basketball game with no color guy? He does it all, man. He calls the entire game by himself and does.
Well, we miss him this week. I'm glad you're coming back, Scott. But I'm going to choose Kentucky. I think Kentucky's going to beat UCLA in this. Yeah. All right. And the last game we're going to talk about in college hoops this week is going to be Tennessee at Arizona. This is another great game.
Well, I'm just going to have to say about this. Tennessee fans dislike me enough. I'm not going to pick against them in this game, not this early in the basketball season. Look, they're number 6. They got a really good team. The really good head coach, Rick Barnes. He's done a great job the last few years with Tennessee. Yeah, Tennessee, you're better off with Rick Barnes than you are with the guy that's down there at Auburn now. Okay, lot better character person in my opinion. He ain't cheating. He does things the right way. He gets his team to play hard. I'm gonna take the Vols in this one over the Pac-12.
I'm so sorry.
Oh,
I'm so sorry.
Man, we got some spike up in the rating. You're picking against Tennessee, man. They're gonna.
I am picking against Tennessee,
man.
Although they're holding teams to 51 points per game, which is 3rd in the NCAA. Arizona is just too big. They have 2 guys, Azuelos Tubilis. I'm probably butchering those names. A 6'11" junior who's averaging 20 points per game and 8.3 rebounds, and Almar Ballo, who is 7 foot tall. He's a sophomore, averaging 19 points per game. When you got guys like that, it goes back to the old Tim Duncan, Dave Robinson team of the Spurs. Yeah. They're hard to stop.
Yeah,
they're hard. If Tennessee's defense can protect the interior, the paint, Tennessee has a chance to win.
Yeah.
I just think Arizona's going to be too big.
It's going to be a good game. The other guy at Auburn I was talking about was Bruce Pearl, of course. But, man, just think, you talk about them Twin Towers, man, you make that reference. Think about the Houston Rockets of the old days when they had Akeem Olajuwon, who was the prime Phi Slamma Jamma with Clyde Drexler at Houston on those teams. They didn't win the national championship, but they should have. They had him and Ralph Sampson. Sampson out of Virginia, 7'4". Can you imagine on the court at the same time, 7'4" and 7 foot? And, look, Olajuwon's not a skinny dude, man. His muscle mass was incredible. He was just a physical freak, man.
And there's a few teams that you notice the NBA's trend is going to mid-size that can do a lot. And it was for a long time the small guys, your guys like Allen Iverson, who came in the league and would just run circles around these big guys. Before that was the big guys, your Bill Lambiers. Even Larry Bird was a big guy for what position he played.
Well, and the Celtics had 7-foot Robert Parrish and 6'10" Kevin McHale.
That's right.
There. So I mean,
what a great team that
you had
was.
your big guys, and of course you look at the Lakers. They had big, of course, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. There, and then James Worthy, a big man on the blocks that could run and was athletic too, man. So Kurt Rambis hacking people coming down the lane.
I just think Arizona's going to be too big for Tennessee, and they're also averaging 91.5 points per game, which is third in NCAA. So, to the third place holding teams to 51.9 Tennessee, we're going to see which one wins out. I think it's going to be Arizona. Let's really briefly hit on some NFL games this week. We got the Cowboys at the Jaguars.
I'm going to be there.
That's where you're going to be.
I'm going to be wearing my Roger Staubach blue jersey, throwback from the 70s. I'm going to take the Cowboys to win. I want to really, really watch them and see if they're a Super Bowl contender. I'm going to see them play this week against the Jaguars, and then I'm going to see them play the Titans in Nashville.
Do you think coming off a game
Christmas.
like Trevor Lawrence had against the Titans is going to give him a boost?
Absolutely. Yeah,
it's going to be a tough game.
Confidence factors, off the charts right now. Travis Etienne is a good running back. I like the physicality of Jacksonville's defense yesterday. I thought their linebackers hit hard and they played hard, man. I was really impressed with the Jaguar defense yesterday.
Although King Henry went off on a couple plays.
Yeah, he did go off in the first half. Yeah. But after that fumble, the game changed.
But he also had a couple fumbles. Yeah. So that leads to the next game. Who'd you pick on that one?
Cowboys.
Cowboys. I'm with Cowboys as well. The next game, we got the Bengals at the Buccaneers.
The Buccaneers are struggling, man. They got blown out by the 49ers yesterday. Joey B's hot, man. They're a dangerous team for the playoffs. I know right now Buffalo's got the number 1 seed, but I would not want to see the Bengals right now in the playoffs, man. I think they're peaking at the right time. I'm going to go Cincinnati.
Yeah, when you as a quarterback have Patrick Mahomes' number when you play him, you're a good quarterback. So I'm going to pick the Bengals as well. I think the Bengals this year have the most complete offense. I don't think it's the best. I think they have the most complete offense in the NFL. They can run the ball. They can pass the ball. They got good tight ends. And they have, I think, one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Doubt.
So I pick Bengals as well. Let's go this next one, and this is going to break my heart. The Titans versus the Chargers.
Oh, is this one in San Diego?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, San Diego's a different team, or the Los Angeles when they play at home. The Chargers are. I like what Herbert did. He's got his receivers back. I think they're going to cause the Titans some problems. Their defense against the run was really good.
Yeah.
Not that Miami challenged them at all. With Rasheem Mostert and the running game, the poor offensive line blocking. Titans got some tackle issues. I would, if I was Tannehill, I would try to get rid of the ball pretty quick. I think the Chargers is who, if I had to pick, because the Cowboys are coming in soon. Maybe the Titans are looking ahead to that game, but I'm gonna take the Chargers over the Titans.
I agree with you. I think Herbert's too strong. I think this last game proved that the Chargers could also stop a quarterback like Tua. And sorry to say, Titans fan, Ryan Tannehill is no Tua Tagovailoa. Sorry, he's not. He's not your franchise quarterback. So I picked the Chargers as well. Going into Thursday Night Football, we have, let's see here, we got the 49ers at the Seahawks.
Sure, this one's easy for me, man. The 49ers,
Absolutely.
Brock
All
Purdy,
day.
Steps in for Jimmy Garoppolo, who's broke his foot. 49ers not missing a beat. Their defense is probably the best defense in the NFL. Give me the Niners, man. That's a team in the – I said the Bengals in the AFC I wouldn't want to face. I wouldn't want to see the 49ers in the NFC.
Yeah, and we look at the Seahawks stats. Their last game, they lost to the Panthers.
Yeah.
So you are coming off Brock Purdy's last game. He beat Tom Brady on his first start, went 16 to 21 with 185 yards, 2 touchdown passes, and a rushing touchdown. You also had Christian McCaffrey go off for 119 yards for the 49ers.
Big pickup for them in the trade with the Panthers.
Such a good game, and I'm happy for a guy like Brock Purdy who comes into the league and wants to prove himself.
Yeah.
He proved himself.
I think he was the very last pick of the entire draft, if I'm not mistaken.
Was. Hey, tonight, I'm actually excited about this game because I want to see how the Patriots do against
I
the
think
Cardinals.
they just kicked off, actually.
They did? I'm sorry about that.
Who you got? Okay, the Panthers. Okay, you got. Tell me about the Cardinals. They got the quarterback back.
They have D'Angelo, or who they got back? Hopkins?
DeAndre
Hopkins. I almost said D'Angelo. He's a singer. DeAndre Hopkins is back, and Kyler Murray are back for this game. Did you know that the Cardinals were actually favored in this game? Las Vegas favored them. They were a plus on this. So I'm actually going to pick the Cardinals. I think Kyler Murray comes back off this energy. Plus, the Patriots, they're struggling as well.
Yeah, you know why the Cardinals are favored? Because the offensive coordinator for the Patriots named Matt Patricia, he called a terrible game last week. Did not let Mac Jones loose. You know, running the ball, short passes. He wanted to get the ball downfield. He's good with the vertical passing game. You got to loosen those guys up, get them out of the box. And I trust Belichick more than I do Kingsbury.
I do too.
Cliff Kingsbury. So I'm going to go with the GOAT head coach. I'm going to go with Bill Belichick to pull this one out by a field goal. Upset.
I'm going to have to choose Kyler Murray. I feel like he's going to do it. And you're coming off a game as well where Mac Jones, there's video going around of him yelling at Patricia.
Oh, he was. Yeah,
I mean,
he was upset.
He was hot.
Yeah.
And so we've seen that, especially this year with Tennessee, when you have some games where you come in and your morale's not that good. You start losing to South Carolina by 193 points or whatever they lost by. Cool. That's going to do it with our picks. So, Ken, you got any updates on Mike Leach?
The update that I got, before we came to the show, he had a massive heart attack yesterday morning. He was not, did not get medical care there for 10 or 15 minutes. That he apparently, had some seizures. That in the hospital they reported today that he is in dire situation. The report that I read was that they moved him to hospice just to make him comfortable. He's not regained consciousness or responded. Some oxygen was cut off the brain. There could be some brain damage. So, really, we dedicate this show tonight to the Pirate, Mike Leach. And I wrote a little song, The 12 Days of Christmas. Dave produced it. After this song, this has got a little humor in it, but this guy, the Pirate, man, he was just so funny. He would make people laugh. The Tyrannosaurus Rex arms in the press conference, and all the things he would do, to make us laugh. And great football coach with Texas Tech and Washington State, and now we get to see him every week in the SEC with Mississippi State. So our prayers for Mississippi State Nation, the family of Coach Leach and certainly Mike Leach. And life's short, folks. We're gonna play this video. It's got a little humor in it, but it's the 12 days of Christmas, SEC style,
yeah, baby.
Gold Ball Sports style, produced by Diamond Dave himself. And, when we get to the one, what does it say?
A pirate in the SEC.
And a pirate in the SEC. Talking about the Pirate. That was his nickname. And after we show this video here, we're going to leave you with a video of the Pirate because he put some solemn words in here through this little humorous thing that he says when he meets a guy trying to find his way somewhere. And he says, look, we don't know why things happen the way they do, but that's kind of the way God works. He works in mysterious ways, and all things happen for a reason. It's appointed for man to die, and then the judgment.
Yep.
And so that's why, as you said, Scott says on his shows every week. What does he say?
He says, "Be good to each other."
So we got to really watch the way that we live and interact with people in our relationships. And
but here's a little southern 12 days of Christmas. We're going to hit that first, so stick around. We're going to hit it. On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a pirate in the SEC. On the second day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 2 Saban heartbreaks. On the third day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 3 Gator Conference wins. On the 4th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 4 cowbells ringing. On the 5th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 5 Hyatt touchdowns. On the 6th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 6 Jason Autry flags. On the 7th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 7 Jimbo failings. On the 8th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 8 roughing the passers. On the 9th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 9 gamecocks crowing. On the 10th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 10 Hendon bombs. On the 11th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 11 Bama haters. Clay Travis, you. On the 12th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 12 dogs are barking, 11 Bama haters, 10 Hendon bombs, 9 gamecock throwing, 8 roughing the pissers, 7 Jimbo failing, 6 Autry flags, 5 Hyatt touchdowns, 4 cowbells ringing, 3 Gator wins, 2 Saban heartbreaks, and a pirate in the SEC.
Man, that was unbelievable. Diamond Dave dialing it up on Go Ball Sports.
It's you who did the lyrics.
12 Days of Christmas edition here. That was fantastic.
You who did the lyrics, my man.
Gary Danielson. You know, some of the highlights of the year in the SEC, man, you got the Hooker bombs. You got the Jalen 5 touchdowns. You got the Saban 2 heartbreaks. You got the Pirate in the SEC. And you got the Danielson roughing the pisser penalty. That was a classic. Among others, including the Bama Hater Club, which you can go back on episode 11 and get the full recap of the exclusive Bama Hater Club.
Amazing. Fantastic job.
Great job, man. Great job. You got one video to take
I tell you what,
our crowd out on.
That's going to do it for us. Stick around. We're going to close on one video. That's it this week for us, though. For Ken Keller, I'm Dave Myers filling in again for Scott Shastine. We miss you, buddy, but you're going to come back strong. And, hey, you're just calling a basketball game. It's not like you're sick or anything. But one more time, we do want to send our prayers and our thoughts to Mike Leach and his family and his team and everybody that surrounds him. And if you could just lift up a good thought or a prayer for him while you're watching this.
Yeah, and really, you know, take to heart these words that he says in this video, this 54-second clip, as we carry you out here and end our show.
That's it. And just like Scott always says, even now more today, it's even more prevalent, more in the forefront. Y'all be good to each other.